the cue I shouldn't have called. I've always believed the cleanest lies happen in the dark, between blackout and lights up, under the hum of dimmers and the soft panic of actors trying to be someone else on time. I'm Owen, 35, stage manager at the Lyric on Halcyon, a theater old enough to have a ghost light and donors who treat the mezzanine like a private club. I don't perform. I make sure everyone else can. On Monday, 3 weeks before opening night, the board chair walked a man through the wings with the stride of ownership. Marcus Vale. His name carried as if it had been mic'd. Property developer, patron saint when the cameras were on, thunderstorms when they were. He shook hands with our director, Julian, genius, volatile, married to our lead. Then Marcus turned to me, looked at my headset, my binder, the tape marks on the deck, and said, "You're the one who pushes the button that makes magic happen." "I push the button that tells someone else to make it happen," I said, and he smiled like he'd been given permission to misremember the line later. Our lead is Eva. She joined the company last season, burned down a room with a monologue about regret, and made the Lyric feel like a destination again. She's married to Julian in the way theater marries people. Vows layered over notes, mornings pressed under nights spent rehearsing. She and I don't flirt. We live in the platonic intimacy of people who hand each other weapons and say, "Not yet." The new show was a modernization of a 17th century play everyone pretends to know. Intrigue, duels, letters passed under doors, a costume ball that reveals the wrong faces at the wrong moment. The usual diet of theater, except this time we'd layered on a live camera element. I had 3 feeds running to on-stage screens so the audience could see the private conversations the characters thought were secret. It felt topical. It felt dangerous if we weren't careful. The first wrong cue arrived in my headset during a stumble-through. We were midway through Act II, the masquerade scene, when my prompt desk monitor flashed a cue I hadn't programmed. Cam B, tight ONEVA kiss. Eva wasn't supposed to kiss anyone in that beat. She was supposed to turn away. My finger hovered over the go button, and I did what stage managers are never supposed to do. I hesitated. "Stand by LX37, sound Q25, camera B, hold," I said quietly, like maybe if I spoke soft, the mischief would dissolve. The camera cue vanished from my monitor as if blinking. We ran the scene as written. After I dug into the show file, nothing. No stray cue, no phantom macro. On the call sheet someone had doodled a crescent, thin and silver. I assumed a bored hand. The shape made the page look like it knew a secret. That night we did notes in the house while the crew struck props. Julian wanted more speed in the banter. Eva wanted less shouting so the words would land. Marcus expressed a preference for effervescence, which is donor for make them do it how I imagine. He lingered in the aisle when everyone else drifted toward the bar, eyes on the stage, then on Eva the way men look at things they think they've paid for twice. "Good to be needed, isn't it?" he said to me. "I wouldn't know," I said. "Don't sell yourself short. Without you, nobody knows when to kiss." "I'm not in the kissing business," I said. "I'm in the not falling down in the dark business." He laughed, not amused but satisfied. "Tell me when I can see a run with all the toys." "Friday," I said, "if the toys behave." They didn't. On Wednesday, during fight call, my comm crackled with an open channel that wasn't ours. A whisper, a breath, a woman's voice saying, "We'll use the blue key," and a man answering, "Back staircase. 10. Then a click. The feed died. My deck crew looked at me. I looked at my board. All 3 camera inputs were patched correctly. None should have carried that audio. I logged the timestamp, told myself it was interference from a walkie upstairs, and wrote blue key in the margin because that's what I do. I collect fragments until a pattern refuses not to exist. After rehearsal, I ran the security cameras from the mezzanine. The Lyric is wired cheap but thorough, lobbies and stairs, not dressing rooms. At 9:57 p.m., Eva came down the back stairwell in a hoodie and flats. At 9:59, Marcus followed, jacket over shoulder, tie loosened like he wanted the building to see him undress. They didn't touch. They didn't have to. The door marked roof access looked like it had been waiting. I could have told myself 100 things and chosen the gentlest. Donors and leads have meetings. Roofs are good for air. People like to be alone where the city pretends to be listening. I didn't tell myself any of those. I sat at my desk and felt a small, clean anger that tasted like metal. The next day, I marked the roof door with spike tape the color of caution. No one asked why. During the afternoon notes, Julian leaned into Eva's shoulder the way married men do when they sense they owe something and are practicing paying later. She leaned back with a smile practiced in a mirror. When she passed me in the wings, she touched the edge of my prompt script with 2 fingers. "Still there," she said with the stage whisper we use when we mean everything and nothing. "Still," I said, and I wasn't sure what I was answering. On Friday, Marcus brought investors. He wanted to see the camera work tight, cinematic, a word that always ends up meaning someone will ask me to do 3 things at once with one hand. We ran the masquerade. On my monitor, QCAM-B, tight ONEVA, kiss flashed again, bold, a dare. This time the timing was different. On stage, Julian missed a line. Eva covered, eyes bright. The extra Q disappeared like a tongue pulled back into a mouth. At break, I took apart the show file in the booth and found the thing I'd missed. An external input mapped to camera B's trigger. Someone had set a hotkey on a wireless pad and paired it like a secret. The pad only had a range of 20 feet. Whoever was firing it had to be near the wings. I went hunting the way you do when you convince yourself you're just straightening gaff. Behind the Act III flats, among bundles of tie line and a prop trunk that smells like damp velvet, I found a small black remote taped under the deck with a strip of spike tape the color I'd used on the roof door. Not my tape. Close. In the dim red of work lights, the remote looked like a lesion. I pocketed it and went to find Eva, not to accuse, to offer a choice. I found her in dressing too, half out of a costume, a robe over a corset, hair pinned in a way that made her look like a woman with a plan. She didn't startle when I closed the door. "Tell me I'm wrong," I said, holding up the remote. She stared at the thing like it was an insect she could crush and chose not to. "Where did you get that?" "Under the deck, stage left. It talks to my board like it pays rent." She exhaled. Marcus asked how close the cameras could get. I told him they move where you tell them. He asked if I could tell them differently. I said no. "And then?" "He taped that under there," she said. "Said it was for emergencies. Said donors love spontaneity. He said he wanted to prove my face could sell a silence." "And you didn't tell me." "I didn't tell anyone." Her mouth tilted. "This is the part where you lecture me about ethics, and I tell you I'm tired of men deciding if my ambition is clean." "I didn't lecture," I said. "Is this about ambition?" She looked at the mirror, at the fluorescent mercy of the bulbs. "Julian thinks the show is his body," she said. "He touches every choice like skin. Marcus thinks the show is his reflection. He wants it to make him young. I think the show is a door. I keep trying to choose which side I stand on." "And the roof?" Her laugh had no humor in it. "There are 4 cameras on those stairs," she said. "I know where they are because I like to know who's watching me when I decide what I'm willing to be seen doing." "Did you?" "Did I kiss him?" She met my eyes. "No, not the way he meant. I kissed the idea that I might still be the one making choices." She paused. "I also told him if he touched me in public again, I would strap a lav to his ego and sell it to a streaming service." I believed her because lying requires a smoothness I've never seen in Eva. She is all sharp edges and decisions, beautiful because she doesn't even pretend to be safe. Take the remote, I said, or let me turn it into a prop. Turn it into a prop, she said. Give it a line. Opening week arrived like weather. We went clean through tech with only the usual casualties. A lantern that preferred the floor, a chorus girl's heel that tried to colonize a rake. The cameras behaved. I changed the trigger map so only my hand could call those shots. I moved the spike tape on the roof door an inch to the left so only someone looking for it would notice, and waited for the look. On preview night, the house wore perfume like sincerity. Marcus arrived with 2 board members in tuxedos who told the ushers they didn't need programs. Julian kissed my forehead like superstition. Eva did a quiet warm-up that sounded like a lullaby sung through a keyhole. When she passed my desk, her fingers brushed the corner of my prompt script again. "Still there," she whispered. "Still," I said, and checked the headset battery like a prayer. I flew. The audience made the right noise in the right places, a chorus of approval that the lighting board seems to hear. I, the masquerade. I called LX37, SND25. The singers hit their marks. The camera feeds played like a second script. And then, as Eva raised her mask, my monitor flashed a cue that wasn't a cue. Not a camera direction this time, but text, scrolled up in white letters on black. "Look up." No one else saw it. The audience saw only the scene. I looked up. Above the stage, nestled in the catwalk near the portal, a 4th camera watched us all, small, black, not on my grid. It carried a thin silver crescent sticker along its side. I went cold in that tight way adrenaline insists upon. "Betrayal," I said on calm and low. "We have a rogue bird in the nest above portal. Confirm." "Copy," my flyman said, voice steady like always. "Not ours." "Rail standby on blackout count. Board op, be ready to bump to safety at my go." "Copy." On stage, Eva turned her head a degree, as if she'd caught a sound from the catwalk. Her eyes found the light where the black housing ate the air. For half a beat, she looked at it like she was done being eaten. I took a risk. During the applause button, I called an extra standby. LX add house kiss to blackout, rail curtain hold. On my go, everyone breathes. My board op said standing, which is our word for fine, but don't make me explain this later. At the precise moment between applause and the next scene, I hit the house at 20% for a breath, enough for donors to see their own faces, and enough for a man with a camera in the catwalk to realize we'd seen him. The rogue camera blinked. A hand withdrew. In my ear, a voice I recognized from the open channel days ago. "Blue key, back stair." I didn't think. I told my ASM to run the safety track. I handed my book to my assistant as if I were walking out for milk. Then I hit the back stairs. I caught Marcus at the roof door with the small black case open, the rogue camera nestled like a wounded bird. He looked less cinematic in panic. "You're in my building," I said, calm because I had to be. "And you're in my show." "This is my theater," he said, breath ragged with indignation. "I make it possible." "You make it precarious," I said. "The difference is that I can fix one of those." He straightened like a man remembering the price of his suit. "What do you want?" His tone made it sound like a menu. "Here's the offer," I said. "You take your toys and your crescent stickers and you leave the lyric alone. You tell the board you're reallocating funds to the restoration across town. You tell the papers you're thrilled to spread your generosity. You never mic my actors without my consent again. And if you ever force a camera onto a woman who doesn't want it, on stage or in the wings, I'll aim a follow spot at you and let the city watch you burn." His laugh stuttered. You don't have that power. I have the power of a mute button and a list of donors who don't want to be part of whatever show you think you're producing, I said. Also, I have footage. He went still. Footage. You're not the only one who likes redundancy, I said. Your catwalk camera, it talks to my booth now. Little present I gave it after it introduced itself. Consider it a dress rehearsal for consequences. He studied my face like he was looking for a cheaper version of the truth. Then he closed the case, a movement that sounded like retreat. I can destroy you, he said, a last effort to sound taller. Get in line, I said. We sell rush tickets. He left by the back stairs, dignity bending at the landing. I returned to my desk, slid on my headset, and picked up the show like I'd only dropped a pencil. The rest ran clean. In curtain call, Eva looked out like she was memorizing the audience and forgetting them simultaneously. After bows, in the chaos of flowers and handshakes, she found me behind the portal and pressed her palm to my chest, flat and brief. Still there, she said, and this time it felt like the question wasn't about sanity or cues. Still, I said, and it was true. Marcus sent an email at 2 a.m. to the board trumpeting his strategic generosity across town. He also sent a smaller one, forwarded to me by a crew member who knows where the real power flows, telling a fixer to clean up any references to ancillary capture devices. The phrase made me want to shower. We pulled the Rogue camera out of the catwalk the next morning and turned it into a prop in Act IV. When the protagonist raises it and says, "Who controls the lens controls the story," the audience laughs like they understand. Maybe they do. Julian never asked about the roof. He and Eva fought 2 days later in whispers I pretended not to hear, then came to rehearsal with their hands full of compromises. They didn't divorce. They adjusted. Eva and I didn't fall into each other the way stories want us to. We built a fragile peace. Sometimes she stood at my desk and looked at the programmable buttons like they were a kind of astrology. Sometimes I walked her to the stage door and we said goodnight in the thin air that holds just enough room for one more breath. On closing night, after the last curtain, we stood on the dark stage with only the ghost light and the city's hum through the house doors. She touched the prompt script again, a habit now. "Do you ever miss being seen?" she asked. "I like being heard," I said. "It's cleaner." She smiled, tired and wicked. "Tell me if I become the thing I fought." "I will," I said, "and you'll tell me if I start calling the wrong cues." We didn't kiss. We did what we could live with. She pressed her forehead to mine for a heartbeat. I let the contact be the whole scene. If you filmed it, you'd sell ad space. If you were me, you'd file it under the right amount of heat. Weeks later, when the next show started and the new cast learned where the spike marks keep them from falling, I found a crescent sticker on my desk. No note, just the shape. I stuck it to my headset boom like a warning and a joke. Buildings remember what people try to forget. So do stage managers. When the house goes to half and the audience hushes, I still slide my finger over the go button and feel the small thrill of deciding when the dark will lift. That's as close to power as I want. Sometimes on the past door under the mezzanine, I'll meet Eva leaving as I'm coming in, and her hand will find my sternum for half a second, an old signal in a new script. "Still there?" she'll ask. "Still," I answer, and the show, whatever it is that night, goes on.